for the inductees to the Saints Hall of Fame for 2013. I will repeat once more, this is not the induction that happens during the football season, and we'll do that at a date to be announced once the NFL schedule comes out. We always coincide with the Saints home game, so we can schedule our events around that particular home game. And once the schedule comes out, we will make you aware of when the induction will take place as part of our All Saints weekend with the induction luncheon, our gala, and of course honoring our inductees on the field during the course of the Saints home game. Saints Hall of Fame Museum is right behind us. It's open, 25 years running now. If you'd like to see it before you depart, it's open for you to do so, so make sure that you partake. In addition to that, we have some sandwiches and drinks over here for anybody that's interested. You can help yourself as well to those. As we get started, we'd like to recognize, of course, the reason we're here, the New Orleans Saints, and they're represented by many outstanding people here today that do great jobs for the organization and that allow us to do what we do. I want to recognize Greg Benzel, as Vice President of Communications, who's sitting in the front row here, who is extremely helpful and a friend, and we appreciate him for all that he's done over a long period of time. In addition to that, Doug Miller is here, and Doug serves as Senior Director of Communications for the Saints. Justin Massione is here, who's also Communications Manager for the Saints. He'll be responsible for getting all the information up on their website here shortly, and I know you appreciate what Justin does, those of us in the media, on a day-to-day basis. We'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, Bud Light, Budweiser. Jerry Peters is here today, and they make it possible for us to do the nice exhibits that we do and have the functions that we have on an annual basis. So our thanks to Jerry. We have our many events during the course of the year, and our upcoming events that we're going to be having most notably soon will be in May 19th and 20th. We'll have our third annual Saints reception and auction at the Saints facility, which is an auction of about 22 items that are as good as it gets that the Saints help us with in dramatic fashion. And it's all you can eat at the Saints facility. A really nice function at $50, and you'll be getting something on that very soon. The following morning is our 22nd annual Saints Hall of Fame Celebrity Golf Classic at 9 a.m. at Chateau Country Club in Kenner. Coach Payton, his staff, many current players and some former players will be participating, and it's a taste of New Orleans with food on every hole, and that's coming up on Monday, May the 20th. Of course, our reason to commence here today is to announce our electees to the class of the Saints Hall of Fame for 2013. Our media selection committee, many of the guys are here today. They do a great job at poring over the candidates, nominating them, and having a spirited debate before arriving at a conclusion. And by our bylaws, we can elect as few as none or as many as 2 per year. And they do a great job at going through this process. In addition to that, we have our advisory committee, which is comprised of our living Hall of Famers who have a say-so in the process too. They collectively make a recommendation every year to us, and the committee that makes the actual election does not have to accept that recommendation, but they take it very seriously. And then we always consult the head coach and the general manager, as it were. The good news is, I'll tell you that it was a pretty unanimous process this year when we reveal that momentarily. The first thing we'll do, though, is to reveal our Joe Gemelli Fleur Award winner. Joe Gemelli, of course, was recognized as the greatest Saints fan ever. Nobody loved this franchise more than he did, self-promoted it like he did, lived and died with it, and didn't have an enemy in the world. He was the nicest person you'll ever meet. And we were proud to name this after him. And, of course, the Joe Gemelli Fleur Award is all about someone that's contributed to the betterment of the New Orleans Saints organization and been faithful to whatever entity that person has been involved in over an elongated period of time. Over the years, if you have their release, you can see the various people from various walks of life that have received this award. And they were people that worked in the organization, fans, fan club members, elected officials, and, of course, media people who have done a great job over the year. We're fortunate to announce that our 2013 Joe Gemelli Fleur Award winner is a gentleman who certainly fits the final criteria better than anyone who's ever worked in this town. When you accomplish nearly 7 decades of working in the media industry, first and foremost, that's quite an accomplishment. When you do so in such respected fashion as this gentleman has, it's even more of an accomplishment, because I would challenge you to find someone that would have an ill word to say about him as well. He's a guy that I looked up to tremendously as a young man growing up here, and I couldn't be more happy or happier that he's receiving this award, because he's done it the right way. He's been fair, he's been tough when he's had to be tough, and he's been polite when he's had to be polite. He's simply been, in the truest sense of the word, a consummate journalist, and someone that everyone respects. He's already been recognized by many Hall of Fames and received national awards, area awards, local awards, and I will tell you that he came to this award reluctantly. He really didn't want it initially, but he was overwhelmed by the people on the selection committee. So without any further delay, it's my pleasure to introduce to you to say a few words the guy that will receive our Joe Gemelli Fleur Award for 2013, Mr. Peter Finney. Pete?
If you're old enough, something will happen to you. That's what happens. But listen, I just want to thank everyone for this award. I mean, the people who are responsible, and it's an honor, and it's just been, you know, I feel like I don't have a job. I've always felt that way, and I enjoyed, you know, at times my time with the newspaper, and it's still going on in a way, and it's just been great. And just walking through this Hall of Fame back here, it just brings back memories, especially going back to the ostrich race. It's just, I remember when Tommy Walker he calls me on the phone, and he said, "Have you ever been on an ostrich before?" And I said, "What is an ostrich?" I had no idea, but I found out in a hurry that they ran all. You had no control. You sat down not on the ostrich, but in the cart or something. You had no idea where they were going to go. And my memory of that race, so to speak, was Wayne Mack, who some of you will remember from television. And the ostrich I was trying to hold on to took off toward the sidelines. And it was at Tulane Stadium. And he almost fell into the sidelines. What's his name? Wayne. And I'll never forget the look on his face. I mean, I had no control. And I think the ostrich stopped when he saw the ligustrums before him, but I had no control over the ostrich, and I think I forget who else was in the race, and somebody wanted to know if I won. I said I have no idea. I was just glad to finish and get out of the cart. But it was a great experience, and it was just great, you know, being part of that deal, and it's just you know, when I think back of all those times, and I think the one story that sticks out in my mind, I saw pictures of John Gilliam, you know, running the opening kickoff back of that first game in Tulane Stadium, the first Saints game, and I'll never forget, I was sitting in the press box about 4 seats away from Pete Rozelle, who was the commissioner of the NFL, and when Gilliam broke through and ran for the touchdown, Rozelle came out of his seat and said, "Go, that's the way to go." And I looked at him and I said, "There's no cheering in the press box." And he was embarrassed and he sat down right away. I'll never forget that, the look on Rozelle's face. But it was a great, all going back there. But going back to Gemelli, you know, they talk about the light at the end of the tunnel. No one saw more lights. He always saw a light at the end of the tunnel. And it was a long tunnel, believe me, because, boy, one losing season after another. But, you know, Joe, he was born with a fleur de lis on his forehead. And he was just unbelievable. He oozed optimism. And of all the Who-Dats, no one was more optimistic than Joe. And it's an honor for me to get this award. Thank you very much.
Fortunately, we're still blessed to read Pete's work in the Times-Picayune. I don't think he knows what NOLA.com is, but he certainly knows what the Times-Picayune is. Don't ever send him an email. He hasn't discovered that yet. He will ultimately. Great man, Pete Finney. Great to have him here and being honored today. Our 2013 Saints Hall of Fame inductee, and our lone inductee this year, again, the committee is charged with the responsibility of electing anywhere from 0 to 2 each and every year. And they arrived at this decision, I will tell you, rather easily. It's a private vote, but we do tell people when it's unanimous, and it was unanimous this year. It was unanimous that he was recommended by our advisory committee, recommended by the organization, from the coach to the general manager, and our media selection committee chose him by acclamation. We didn't have to go through a private ballot because we all felt that he was extremely well deserving. And when you consider what he accomplished, even though he was only here 5 years, it's substantive. When you average 10 sacks per season, when you have 17 in one season, when you're an all-pro player, when you're a Pro Bowl player for 2 of those seasons, when you're part of the first playoff victory in franchise history after winning a division as well, and when you create matchup problems galore because of your quickness, it very clearly qualifies you for this honor. Lord knows he went on to have an extremely productive career after he left here. He can get into that if he wants to, but I'm not, because it's too bad he couldn't have played here for another 6-7 years after he finished going to 3 straight Pro Bowls when he left here in Dallas and going on to play extremely well in his other locales also. Tremendous career, and of course he was outstanding with the Saints and part of something very special when they did win their first playoff game here in the franchise's history. And he lived in our midst for a long time. We lost him just recently. He's in my neighborhood. The neighborhood's not as good anymore. I just want you to know that without you there. But it's great to have him here today. He still works in the NFL for some other team in the Midwest, and that's good too, because it's great to have him involved in this league because he is truly class. Please welcome our electee to the Saints Hall of Fame for 2013, defensive lineman Leroy Glover. Leroy?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to thank the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame Committee for the votes and the accolades, and being a member of the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame is a phenomenal accomplishment. Secondly, I want to thank Mr. Tom Benson, the owner of the Saints, for all he's done for me, not even, just while I was here as a player, but what he still continues to do from an advice standpoint, from a mentoring standpoint. Coaches, Mike Dicker, who I played for with the Saints, and Jim Haslett, want to thank them as well for their knowledge, their leadership, and their motivation when needed. Quick story, I remember my mother's name is Dorothy Glover, my father's name is Lawrence Glover. And I can remember playing, high school football, and the announcer way in the booth would say, Leroy Glover on the tackle, or Leroy Glover this, or Leroy Glover that. And I could vividly remember this. I don't see her doing it, but I was told she walked up to the announcer's booth, and prime time, in the middle of a sentence, she said, "Excuse me, sir, his name is Leroy." And it went out and through the speakers, and I can just remember, a lot of my good friends were giving me a hard time about it, but that was my mother. She wanted to make sure you said all of her children's names right. Fast forward to, I get released from the Oakland Raiders, come on aboard to the New Orleans Saints a day later, my first meeting with Mike Dicker. Mike Dicker is giving me a spiel about what he expects from his teams, what he expects from his players. And the first question I asked him was, Coach Dicker, there was a concern about me and my size. A lot of people say I was too small to ever play in the National Football League, and they question, some of those other intangibles. He says, son, I don't give a damn how big you are. I don't give a damn how fast you are. As long as you can make plays, you'll always have a home here. And that is something that truly stuck out, not only my career with the Saints, but even moving forward through the National Football League. But at the end of the conversation, Mike Dicker, Iron Mike Dicker, he's Leroy this and he's Leroy that. And me being the son of Dorothy Glover, it just naturally came out. I says, Coach, sir, my name's not Leroy. My name is Leroy. Coach Dicker says, I don't give a damn what your name is. Until you start making some plays around here, your name is Leroy. And that was the end of the conversation. So once again, thank you to the Saints Hall of Fame Committee. Thanks for coming, and this is a great honor. So once again, thank you very much.
Thanks, Leroy. I'd also like to recognize another member of the Saints organization that came in and has been instrumental in helping us on many different fronts with alumni, many of whom he knows personally, also with the museum in any capacity. He does a tremendous job with helping us with our auction and reception that I referenced earlier, and he's been with the Saints for, I don't know, maybe longer than man, Jay Romick, who's standing in the back. Jay? Last person I want to recognize and maybe impose on him to say a word or two real quickly, too, is the gentleman that represents the hierarchy of the New Orleans Saints. Mr. Benson is out of town. He'd have been here otherwise, and he sends his best and deeply appreciates the guys and what you do in selecting these Hall of Famers, and appreciated last year, and is fully behind what's happening here. This gentleman's born and raised here. He fully understands and comprehends the scope of the entire Saints history, and he's been with the Saints for a long time, and it's been a dream of his to ascend to where he is now. He's president of the organization and doing a tremendous job. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Dennis Lauscher. Dennis?
I'll be brief. It truly is an honor for the New Orleans Saints to have these two great gentlemen going into the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame means a lot, I can promise you, to the New Orleans Saints organization. And I'll say one thing about Peter Finney is that I'll hear you speak all the time, and you say you have the greatest job in the world as a local. I'll tell you, I'm a local too, and we could argue about that because I think I have the greatest job in the world. But congratulations, and as many of you in this room, I can tell you, every Sunday morning, being a kid from the day I could read, I turned to Times-Picayune and I'd go find the Peter Finney article and the Brian Alley Walsh article and all those great Times-Picayune writer articles, and just read it, read. And it was one of the most enjoyable things, I think, as part of the game, the satisfaction of the post game that you could possibly have. So congratulations and thank you very much. And then this gentleman here, Leroy, he and I started Saints about the same time. He's a year before me, but I can tell you, and Greg was there as well, those are some interesting years, and I can tell you the one rock that you knew you could count on game after game after game, day after day, was Leroy Glover. He truly was the foundation of that organization from a football standpoint, and I can tell you, he's one of him making those sacks and doing those having those plays, truly one of the best players that stand out in my mind in my entire tenure with the New Orleans Saints. So on behalf of the Saints organization, and again, as Kenny said, Mr. Benson's traveling today. He really would like to be here. On behalf of the Saints organization, we really congratulate you. We will, as we do every year, we can't wait for your inauguration into the Hall of Fame and your day, and we'll make sure it's very special. And like I said, we can't wait for that day. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. From a media perspective, of course, Pete and Leroy will be available for one-on-ones if you'd like to do anything with them. What is it, hashtag Pete Finney, right? He has no idea what I'm talking about. It's all good. And the museum is open right behind us, so you have an opportunity to come on in, spend as much time as you like looking around. If you want to shoot anything in there, go right ahead. Feel free to do so. Museum, by the way, is open by appointment during the week, Monday through Friday, and we're open on game days in honor of the Saints, free to season ticket holders, 2 hours before each game and for an hour after each game as well. Without any further ado, again, food and drink over here. Help yourselves. Museum behind us. Help yourselves. And help yourselves to Leroy and to Pete. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to the New Orleans Saints organization. God bless you.